Hello, my name's Sean. I'm going to be walking you through setting up ext2 file system support on Microsoft Windows. I'm using Microsoft Windows version 7, 64-bit. There are two drivers for using ext2 file system natively on Windows. One of them is called ext2ifs, which you can get from this link, and the other is called ext2fsd. This one was actually giving me some problems. I went with ext2fsd. Other people online have had different experiences. I do want to mention that if you try these, you only want to install one or the other of these. What these programs will let you do is they'll let you access a certain kind of file system called ext2 on Windows. I have a USB stick that I prepared already. It's an 8 GB USB stick, but currently the file system on it is only 2 GB. If you see this pop up on an ext2 device, don't pick Format Disk. Instead, you want to make sure that your ext2fsd volume manager is running. And as you can see, I was able to get into my ext2 file system on my USB stick. I created that file system like this. First of all, you're not going to want to be in a MinGW shell for this. We'll go ahead and exit out and load up a Cygwin shell instead. What I've just done is I've created a root directory for my ext2 file system. Anything I put in that temp test folder will be in the root of the ext2 file system that I'm about to create. And I've created an empty file just to prove that it works. I'm going to point the program e2fsimage.exe, which is a program you can install from Cygwin setup.exe. You'll also want to have e2fs progs installed. I'm going to point this at the directory I just created. I'm going to dump my file system to a file called fs.ext2. I'm going to tell it a size of 2 GB. I have an 8 GB jump drive, but unfortunately e2fsimage won't work with files bigger than 2 GB, at least on my system. That's not going to be a problem for us because Linux has a program called grow e2fs, which will take an existing ext2 file system and expand it until it fills all the available space, which for me will be my entire 8 GB drive. So for right now, 2 GB is just fine to work with. That command runs pretty quickly. If you'll notice above the video link, I had a caution icon. This is a step that you might want to actually back up before you continue with. I would highly recommend pausing. If you're back, you've gone ahead and made sure that you have a recovery disk from your operating system handy and that you've backed up any important files. You probably will be okay doing this, but the reason why I am giving you a lot of warnings is because we're about to use a utility called DD, which is duplicate disk. And what DD will do is it will take one file system and write it to the root of another file system. Now, to Cygwin, all your file systems, including the one that has Windows on it, look just like these right here. Different files inside your dev folder. If you pick the wrong one of those, you'll actually overwrite your Windows installation, which I don't have to tell you would be really bad. To make absolutely sure that you are writing to your removable disk, there's two ways. One is that Windows will only ever recognize USB disk's first partition. So chances are your USB disk only has one partition. Here we have SDB, which is the root of my USB disk, and one partition. Most Windows computers have multiple partitions. This is because one of those partitions happens to be the recovery CD. Mine has even more partitions than a normal Windows disk does because I actually have a dual boot operating system, and these partitions over here, 4, 5, and 6, actually belong to Linux. A more surefire way of doing this would be to go ahead and remove your disk. And then coming back over here, as you can see, both my dev SDB and dev SDB1 disappeared when I removed my USB stick. So I know for a fact that dev SDB1 is safe to write to. If you've carefully made sure that you're going to write to your USB stick and not your hard drive, then you should be safe. I'll go ahead and show you the command that you're going to use. Input file is that fs.ext2 I just created. Dev SDB1 again is what we've just determined is our USB stick. And this is just a speed optimization. What this does is it chunks fs.ext2 into 32 megabyte chunks. It'll go ahead and read 32 megabytes into RAM and then copy 32 megabytes over to SDB1. I found that 32 megabytes is about optimal. This command takes a little while to run, and I'm not going to make you sit through it in this video. But this is the command that I used to create this 2 gigabyte partition on my removable USB stick, which, as you can see, Windows can read. If you can't get either ext2 IFS or ext2 FSD to work, you can still build Cross Linux from scratch. You just won't be able to double click on your drive and see the contents. However, you'll be able to create your ext2 file system and populate it, as I've just shown you how to do, using Cygwin. that's it for the video. Thanks a lot.